Welcome back to Holistic Moms. I'm your host, Shan Wright. Okay, do you know where your anxiety is coming from? Do you know what you're afraid of? A lot of times when we have stress and anxiety, there's an underlying fear. There's an underlying lie that we are actually believing. And this is leading to these thoughts and feelings of anxiety. So for me, if you've listened to a few episodes, I'm not sure which episodes I said this on, but I know I shared with you that I've had some financial anxiety. I've had anxiety related to finances, but not in the fact of I don't have money. It came down to way deeper than that. And I had to dig that up and go through that journey. But I will say having anxiety about finances is not rare. Actually, it's very, very common. I don't know what the stats are, but I would say most Americans, especially in today's day and age, 2024, stress about their finances. So I am so excited and thrilled to introduce to you our guest today. I've been wanting to have them on the podcast for quite some time. Actually, kind of cool that I get to have them on because I learned about them before I even became a podcaster and didn't even think this was going to be possible one day or something that I did. But here I am interviewing two financial coaches. Shana and Vanessa are best friends and business partners on a mission to redefine personal finance for women worldwide. They're keynote speakers, master financial coaches, and co-hosts of the top 1% globally ranked podcast, Financial Coaching for Women. As some of the only people who truly love talking about budgets, Shana and Vanessa know how to make personal finance fun, judgment-free, and refreshingly simple. They help people make good money but have nothing to show for it, set up a budget that is tailored to their lifestyle and goals. As moms, wives, best friends, and business partners, they bring a unique blend of real-life stories, practical advice, and humor to every conversation. Together, they've built a thriving, multiple six-figure business completely debt-free, bringing over a decade of coaching experience to the table and training by Dave Ramsey. Shana and Vanessa are taking the shame out of money talk and teaching women worldwide how to take ownership of their finances. Okay, without further ado, let's listen in on the conversation I had with Shana and Vanessa. Hey mama, are you stressed by the lack of time in the day to do all the things? Are you feeling disconnected from God, your husband, and even your kids because patience and presence seem out of reach? Do you want a healthier body, mind, spirit, and home, but overwhelmed in where to start? Hey, I'm Shan Wright, daughter of the king, wife, mom to 4, RN, wellness coach, and I know very well what it feels like to want to live well, but about to lose it with my very blessed, full life. After realizing I can't pour from an empty cup, I tracked my way to whole body wellness and so much peace. If you are ready to cancel the stressed out life, learn tactical, intentional strategies as a mom wearing many hats, find more peace, confidence, and joy raising kingdom kids, then listen in. Come on, mama, together we got this. Really, God's got this. So go heat up that coffee again and turn your listening ears on. Let's chat. I am thrilled to introduce you all to not one other guest, but two guests today. I have the Budget Besties, Shana and Vanessa, with me today, which I've met them through my podcast coaching program. And I knew when I heard them before I even had a show that eventually they needed to be on my show. So this is a long time coming. So you will hear why once we dive in. But right now, welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us. It's a 2-for-1 deal when you get us.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you do, what you wish for though, because it could be a lot. But we're so excited to be here and talk to you. Yeah. And thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've never interviewed two people at once, so it's a little bit like skill. Who goes first? But
we'll figure that out.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll just finish each other's sentences anyway, so we might as well be one person.
You're pros at it. So I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit. I would love to get to know you a little bit. So please share with us first, like as you start talking, your name. So then we know who goes with who.
Match it. Yes.
And then 2 things that you're loving and what you are reading, because we like to learn here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll go for, are we going back and forth or we're just going to
just do it all?
Okay. I'll do it all.
Also, you're Vanessa.
Yes, I am Vanessa. Hi. And okay. So 2 things that I'm loving right now. I am loving this era with my kids, their sports life. They're both in high school. We have homecoming coming up. They're just so involved with everything that's going on. I really am loving being involved in their life and learning about them and watching them grow with their friends and everything. So that is one thing. The other thing I love is my business. I absolutely love doing this with Shana. It is, I couldn't, a lot of people are so against business partners and working with somebody else because they say it's so hard and it can be icky and whatever. I would not want to do this by myself. And I know there's so many people that reach out to us and like, you're so lucky you have each other. And I say, we are, it's such a God story. And so I do love my business. I love working this with her. And then what am I reading? I'm currently reading Limitless.
Ooh, I have that on my list already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Who's that by again, though?
What is his name? His last name starts with a W.
I'm going to think of it. But yes.
I knew you were going to ask me that too, and I completely blanked.
I'll look it up because it is on my list. I've written it down recently. I can't remember when and where. Love that. And that's so sweet about your business because to rewind again, when I first heard you all, I was like, I want to do this with my friend. I want to do this with someone. I don't want to do this alone, but I knew God was calling me into it. And it was kind of one of those things where I completely was taking his lead because I was reluctant and he didn't open the door for me to do it with a friend. But I was like, that seems so fun. So fun.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to our testimony. But one thing that I'm loving, so we have, between us, we have 5 kids and our oldest is the same age. We have boys that are, mine just turned 16 and hers was about to, and then she has a girl that's 14 and I have a girl that's about to be 13 and 10. Okay. Well, did you hear what I just said? My son just started driving. Okay. So our kids go to a school that is about a couple miles away from where we live. So my son takes the girls and himself to school. That just started. It's
like a whole new world for her.
It is crazy. So I am loving that. But also what we do now, I also miss the connection because we have a lot of fun in the car on the way. We usually listen to some worship music, get pumped up for the school day and all that. And then when you get them on the offside, that's when you hear about their lives,
Right.
So now we're doing walks though, because it's a little cooler. And so I have this nice little block that I can walk in, less than 10 minutes with each kid or all of them at the same time. And so we're doing that and it's cooler and I can download what's happening with them. So loving that. Also loving our budget because we were just recording an episode for our podcast and the level of my life is different than what I ever expect. Like I never expected to be paying for grooming and dog grooming. Like my dog has to get groomed.
I did not know.
I didn't even know that was going to happen when we got him. That's how naive I am. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. So the fact that, and we're about to go to Greece for our vacation and the fact that we've been able to budget for it all, pay for it all in cash and like the system that we use, like just being able to know that I can do that without the anxiety. Like we had a client one time tell us, oh, I can go on vacation and not worry about bills. I'm like, yes, you can. And that's where I'm at. Like my life keeps getting a little bit more bougie every year. And I'm not trying to do it, but at least like I know I can afford it.
Yeah. Our system that's completely shows you how to do that. It allows you to be bougie on a budget.
Yes.
And the freedom to do that. It's nice.
Yeah. And then I am reading, actually, I'm going to throw 2 out there. And this is going to be a little controversial for your women, your listeners, but I want them to think about it. It's called The Making of Biblical Womanhood. Womanhood. I don't know what the right word is. And I heard it on another podcast a while ago. And I was just really intrigued to hear about it, to read it. So it's very interesting. It's a different take. And then also buy back your time because I have to read one of each kind of book, right? And so I can't read buy back your time as I'm trying to go to sleep or else I'll be like, okay, let me go implement all the things, all the productivity things, right? So I try to read something different at night. Anyway, so reading those 2 books and loving them. So.
Well, good. Thanks for those. See, I love that I asked you guys that. I'm like, I need to write down
I know. Now
all
we're in
these
a book
books.
club. Let's be in a book club.
Always been a dream. Always been a dream. Okay. Well, I love all those things that you're loving. I probably could talk about each of them for the next hour, but
For sure. We do.
but we're happy to get to know you both a little bit more. And it's so funny that you said, Shana, walking the drives have now transitioned to walks, because I just recorded an episode just like an hour ago, and I told my listeners to do that.
Mhm.
So, and I said it could be for any age of your kid. Like,
Oh,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. So
Yeah, it's so good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. And now another way that we love to start our show and just love to get to know you is what God is doing in your life and your testimony of just life. It can be, people ask me, is it faith, career? It's life. Like God has led you to a place, and here you are, the Budget Besties, and you have a podcast, you have a business, financial coaching. And how did that happen? So give us the cliff notes, and just either of you pop in wherever you want, but just share with us.
Well, it all started. No, just kidding. We actually have such a fun story. And praise God, from whom all blessings flow. For He's led us to where we are now. And so we're so grateful for that. But we actually met. We were not besties always. We met when our boys I just mentioned.
Hold on. We were not besties for like 3 seconds.
That's true. Okay. Until we met each other. Then we were.
Until we said hi.
Our boys were 4. Now they're 16 almost, right? I'm aging Chase with Zach, so it's fine. So that I can do the math in my head. Anyway, they were 4 in VPK. And we met, we were going to the gym, and we started going to church together. And so we were friends. And so we had different jobs and different, mostly we were moms, and we would
We were babysitting for each other. So each of us can go to work.
Yeah. We're just, living our mom life together.
Yeah. Went to the beach together.
While they were little, it's a lot less theoretically that you can do when they're little than when you can do when they're older. So anyway,
basically we were Insta friends.
Yeah. The way that I like to describe the intensity of who we are as friends is we started a church, and 2 weeks later, we started going to a church together. 2 weeks later, we were leading the community group. Like we were leading it together. So
we started going to a new church together. Not like one of us had been going.
No, it's both brand new for both
brand new.
of us. So that's
it's like the exact iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you just were like dull and then sharp together and just go. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes. It's really fun to meet. There's not that many people out there in the world that are like as much like you as we are together. So it's fun to have that. But let's fast forward, because we'll be here all day.
Oh yeah.
Tell them where you were and where I was.
So Shana had moved away. They were military. And so they had moved to Virginia. And I was here in our lovely little town of Navarre teaching in Florida. And, she had started personal training, and she, God had really spoke over her to do life coaching and financial coaching with all that. Like it just all kind of comes together when you're coaching people. And I was teaching, and I just really knew that it was a job that I wasn't really supposed to be in long-term. And I really just kind of walked around my house for a while with my hands out and just asked God for direction. I said, God, I'm really in a dark place. I need to know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And he said, you're going to pay off your mortgage and be debt free and start your business. And I thought, well, that's cute. I'm 27.
It's very specific.
Yeah. And it was very specific. And I thought, well, I don't really know how to do that, but it's maybe math, and I love math. So maybe I could do it. So my husband and I paid off our mortgage. And then I was like, okay, I'm an A+.
Check.
A+ student, did the thing. What's next? And literally that week, and I asked God, I said, I need very straightforward. I need a sign, neon. I need all of that, because that's just how I function. And I want to say within the next couple of days, Shana had texted me and she said, I just got my financial coaching certification. I'm moving back home. I need you to get yours, and we're going to do this thing together. And I was like, done.
Wow.
So that's
that just gave me chills.
Oh, me too. And me too. Every time I say it, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I love, we both love being led by the Spirit. It's such a fun way to live life. It's such a live way to live life.
Right.
But I'm going to back up her story just a second, because this is the funny part. Like I'm the comedian, if you will. And that's just because I'm a dork. That's all. That's what makes it funny. But I, for some reason, I picked up this book called Total Mini Makeover. Maybe that's another one people can add to their list. And, I read it and I gave it to my husband and said, I think we should do this. This seems like a good idea. Okay. This guy seems to know what he's talking about. And he read it and he said, we basically already do this. And I'm like, I
Maybe.
I don't know if that's true, but apparently we were all done, Shan. So I gave the book to Vanessa. Vanessa, like she said, she loves math. She's financially wired, all of that. So she read it in like a day, two, and then immediately got to work on what it did. It's Dave Ramsey's book and what he tells you to do. And so my journey took a little longer to come around, and it's a really fun story. But either way, we were both on this journey of financial, getting our financial life,
freedom,
all of that,
yeah.
And so that is when, so then she's naturally doing it, loves it, and I am over there, like she said, if I'm coaching you and you're telling me you can't afford to eat healthy, well then, like, it's just all of these things keep snowballing. And so anyway, so I loved it. My husband loved it. We took the training together, and that's when I text her. I'm like, look, we're moving back, and this is the thing. This is what it is supposed to be. And so we did. And how about this? We don't recommend it, but what we had done was we decided to start our business on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2020, right? Smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. It's a great time to start a business. We totally recommend it. And so anyway, so we did, and God led us every step of the way. However, this story has a little like Israelite cycle in it. Okay. So sometimes we went our own way.
Oh, yes.
A little bit.
He had to really close some doors for us. He definitely led us together, and we knew that there was no question about it, that we were supposed to be doing this business together.
And there was no plan B.
Yeah. And we had no plan B. People kept asking us like, well, what if? I'm like, there is no what if, because if you always are tiptoeing, if you always have one foot in, one foot out, then you're never going to be fully in on the one thing. And so I never had a plan B. But we, along the way, saw some bright, shiny lights that weren't from God, that were just from ourselves, and that we kind of went towards, and we thought, oh, this is fun. This is the squirrel moment, and realized that God had to completely shut those doors and slam the door in our face. So no, this is not what you were supposed to be doing. This is actually what you were supposed to be doing. I told you from the beginning. But you didn't listen. So 4 years in, we were doing a bunch of different types of coaching. We were personal training. We were life coaching. We were also doing home organization, which totally makes sense. Not at all. So then finally we were like, oh, I think we're only supposed to be doing financial coaching. I think that was the one thing we were supposed to do. So when we finally honed in on doing what God told us to do, where he led us from the beginning, that's when our business completely transformed.
Yeah. There's a saying, delayed obedience equals delayed results or delayed blessings. And that's really what we saw. So once we, we actually did what God told us to do and nothing else, we saw our business. And this is probably where you've heard us say it, because we loved the coach that we all worked with. Our business literally tripled. In a matter of months, when we finally were doing what God told us. And so now, and maybe just to encourage anybody who's listening, sometimes it feels like messy and you don't know what you're doing, but really it's probably because we're not actually listening. We're not doing what we know that we're supposed to be doing. We're not taking the time to distill that. And that peace that you get once you do that, once you are walking in obedience, is so good. So now I don't even know what we're doing. I just know it's working because God's blessing is on it.
His hands are in it. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and they said, when you're doing God's work, like the amount of simplicity that you feel when you just function every day, it's so different than when everything is tense and anxious. And that's because you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah. You're trying to do it on your shoulders instead of using God's strength to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes complete sense. Few things. One, I have a chalkboard wall, and my kid just came in the door, but as I looked over, I have a chalkboard wall, and on it real big, it says obedience precedes the miracle. Same thing. Delayed obedience results in delayed results. Yeah. And so I love that. I try to meditate on that. God, what do you want me to obey? What am I not obeying? So what was it for you guys? Like, why the delay? Why were you trying to do all these other types of coaching in the 4 years? Or probably less, because we're in what are we? We're in October 24. So you've made your decision a little bit ago, but that you're in financial coaching for sure. But why did you do a few different ones in between there?
I think because we think, well, we're hard workers. We have, I heard somebody say, like, our biggest asset that we each have is our work ethic. Like, you can't bottle this up. So why not do everything instead of one thing? Why not?
It has to be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if we did more, we would get more results. We would grow faster or whatever. And I think that is just who we are naturally, right?
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. If you have good mentors, they can help you. And this is our podcast coach. She is an excellent mentor. She literally says, don't do this until you do this. And that's what we really needed. We weren't under any sort of mentorship at that point that we did figure that out eventually.
The right mentorship.
Right. And also, like, if you're really busy doing a lot of things, obviously, then you're doing the right thing, right? And so if you're so busy, what did I just say? You can't hear from God. Like when Vanessa's walking around her house, and I mean, probably doing the same thing at my house in Virginia, like I can hear you because I'm taking time. I'm not so busy. I'm not doing a million other things. I'm pausing my day literally to ask for help on this thing, right? And we were just busy doing all the things, and we sort of maybe got a little sidetracked, probably.
Yeah, no.
Probably.
Completely makes sense. I mean, high achievers, we have that shiny object syndrome because you keep wanting to achieve. You keep like, I totally get it. I think my listeners totally would receive that too. Okay. Now the next thing from your story. I also started my business in August 2020.
Smart.
But a little bit different of a business. But yeah, it was like, why not bring on more? I only had a newborn and 3 other kids, and
perfect time.
That's the best time.
But that is when I started into the wellness space for myself. And it was not what it is today, but it was still like my foot starting in that direction. That is when it was really God leading me down that road to holistic wellness for myself. And that was 2020, but he taught me nice and slow because I was,
that's so how
like the first year he taught me about courage. The second year he taught me about like confidence. And then he said that I needed, he wanted to teach me about peace. And the first place he went was my finances. And he told me, and it wasn't actual finances. It was that I had financial anxiety. And so I think it's interesting that you did all this life coaching and the personal training and the wellness, all of it. And then it was like down to finances. So I think that's pretty funny how we have that similarity. But for me, like my listeners know this because I've shared this multiple times on the podcast. It was all of 2023, so just last year, that the Lord told me, this is your year of peace, and it's going to start with your finances. Financial anxiety, like you need to deal with this because it has been my whole life, this really since childhood, but my whole life that I have had this. And he's like, no more avoiding it. It's time to take care of it. So my listeners know that I've had this and I know where mine came from, but why do you all think so many families have this stress and anxiety around their finances? I'm sure there's a million different reasons, but from those that you coach, from a lot of women that you coach, do you find that there's anxiety there?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we would say probably the number one thing is that it stems back from the baggage of childhood. It comes back to the way they were raised, the way they were spoke to about money, the way that they heard money just being like talked about in the household, even if they weren't even in the conversation, they see it, they feel it, they know what's going on, right? So we have a lot of people that come to us the very first session, and we really try to unpack that because we want them, and we can see it. Like very first session, even session 2, 3, like we see the vision, we see the path, we see their journey, we see what they're going to accomplish while they're coaching with us. They can't because they're so in it, and they're too close to it because for so long they've held on to, all this quote unquote baggage.
Yeah. And I think also it comes from, so you have the anxiety of, if it's from baggage, if it's whatever, it's also what we do is we stack on top of that by shaming ourselves that we don't know more. We're not doing better. We
should know.
Yeah. So then you've just stacked on top of it. And so then it's just this vicious cycle. And then what will I do? Well, I'll just ignore it because I don't want to deal with any of that. That's an ugly, let's put that back in the closet, close the door, lock the key, throw it away.
Yeah.
And then that actually makes it worse. So the other thing that is interesting is I think a lot of people don't realize how much it's affecting them. So even if I'm pretending to not care or not think about it, it is literally wrecking balls in my brain all the time on the background, playing on repeat. And so so the way to solve that is to literally just face it, because it's usually not as bad as anybody thinks it's going to be. And if we can just confront it, then we're it's like ripping the Band-Aid, right? Like we're going to get the hard part over with. And now I get to be I can start to settle into a different person who's in control, who's confident, who's excited, who's looking toward her future and laughing, right? And with excitement. And really, if you think about like who God's calling us, and when he's talking about money in the Bible, one of the things that comes to mind is, it says nobody can serve two masters, right? And so a lot of times we think, well, if I'm not greedy, right? If I'm not thinking like I'm not trying to make all this money and buy a yacht, then I'm not serving the money master. But that's really not what's happening. What you're alluding to is what's happening. It's your master because it's controlling your thoughts and your actions and your decisions. And maybe even sometimes we like to say the way that you respond to your kids, because maybe you're stressed about money. And so we have to own that. We have to get rid of that. We want to be in control of our money, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's definitely controlling their decisions. So when we tell people to write their goals down, we tell them like, it doesn't have to be financially around money, like your goal, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back to money some way, shape, or form, because we always see it. People are stressed about something that has to do with finances all the time. It's always there. And like Shana was saying, even if you don't think that it's controlling you because you're not like honoring, a celebrity or or whatever, you're idolizing it. Just if it's controlling your thoughts, and every time you go to purchase something, it's stressing you. Every time you want to go buy something, you don't think you can. Every time somebody asks you to go on vacation or a family trip or a family reunion and you can't go, or you're trying to buy gifts,
don't know if you can go.
Right. All of that. Like if you're saying no and you're feeling stressed about money, it's controlling you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as a holistic wellness coach, I was like thinking through all the different areas of wellness. And that's when the Lord had not up to that point, but when he knew I was ready, he was like, financial wellness, that area, you aren't well. And in order to like help others, you need to focus on that. And that was the thing. It was like, I didn't realize my anxiety was being so affected from that. Like it was underneath those layers. Like I didn't, because my husband is really great with money, I just thought letting him deal with all of it and me doing, I didn't know it was still connected. And I'm like, I'm sure you guys see so often how it's like opening the woman's eyes to, no, it's all connected. All of it connects. Absolutely. And so, yes, exactly what you said, like, even the thought of, should I buy this? Should I talk to my husband about it first? Should I do? It's like, that's time wasted in your brain. Like, if you had a healthy relationship with money and with communication with him about it and with your budget and all of it, then you would have been able to think about something else during that time.
Yeah. And part of my journey and why I wanted to do this is how much it transformed my marriage, just what you're talking about. Because if I looked at my baggage, the answer was always no. That's how I grew up. Like, don't even ask. The answer is no. And so I actually treated my husband that way, even though we've talked about this often. I don't think he's ever told me no if I actually asked him. But in my mind, nope, you can't have that. No, you can't spend that money. Like when we met, that personal training thing that we did, I assumed like all my friends were doing it. And I was like, well, of course, I'm not going to be able to afford to do this. And I went home and he said, you should do that. I was like, what? And that was like this mind-blowing moment. Oh. And then, so the point being, when we went through all of this financial journey stuff, we were a team. We were openly communicating. We were back on the same team. We were having this vision, these goals together, talking about it, getting excited, working together. And like, it just was such a different dynamic when it comes to money. And so we love to talk through that with our clients. And then the other part that you mentioned, our kids. Hello, we don't want them to end up the way with the baggage that we have. So we get to be intentional about the way that we're talking about money with them, or bringing them in on the conversation, teaching them what we didn't know, right? So that they can start off stronger and smarter than we did when it comes to money.
We like to say, listen, we don't want to create another us, right? So having those conversations with your kids, and it's not, no, it's not, we can't afford it. It's not, we don't have the money. It's, hey, we are deciding to do this as a family. Instead of doing that, we're going to choose to do this. And hey, we have the money, but instead we're actually going to buy this because this is how this is going to serve us and our family, and how it's going to serve you in the future. And also letting them make decisions. I think it's, it doesn't matter what age. I think you can have, you can have healthy conversations with your children at any age. It's just about how you frame it and how you speak to them. So that way they feel confident enough and they feel that there's a buy-in there with them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I love that verbiage there that you gave us. Like, that's going to be really helpful for our listeners as we start to have kids that they need to know. Actually, as little as their little brains can comprehend, they need to know as they grow. I love that. Okay, so talking about moms, and no one has time, but especially moms, we like to take on that "I'm so busy" phrase. Although
badge, like it's a badge.
Here on the podcast, we like to not say that, but
we don't like that one either.
Yeah, but we like to not just intend and have intentions, but actually put action to our intentions and be women of action. So
yes,
when people say they want to have a budget, they intend to have a budget, but they don't have time, what do you say? How do you coach them?
We can all say we don't have time. The one thing that we can tell them to do, the one thing you have time for, is to open a separate checking account for spending.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's like, sometimes it's mind blowing. We did a podcast and I think we opened the podcast with, hey, listen, you're not 16 anymore. You can have more than one checking account. And, but some people, the idea of doing something different because they've done it one way for so long. That's all they've ever known. That's all they've ever been taught. They don't know of a better way. They're like, well, everything's fine. Everything's working. And we're like, yeah, but what if it could be better? What if it could be better than you thought it could ever be if you just try one thing? And that one thing for us to be a complete time saver in the future would be have a separate checking account that you do nothing but spend money out of.
Yeah. And the other separate account is only your bills. So really it's distilling our whole method, if you want to call it, is to separate your accounts and have separate accounts for spending, for savings, and for your bills. So that way it can all run in the background on autopilot. But to answer your question about time, what our system does is, yes, you're going to have to invest a little time today, but it's going to save you time in the future because what we want you to do is set it up and then it runs automatically. Your budget, every paycheck can run automatically and you don't have to do anything with your hands. You can save time and brain calories, and anxiety because it's all working, it's all running. But the other answer is you don't have time not to. We were just recording a podcast talking about the sooner you get this, the sooner you just do it, the sooner all the things are going to start compounding. Your savings will start compounding. You paying off your credit cards if you have them, that interest will start going down. Like as soon as you get started, it's going to make such a difference.
My client yesterday, she's like, there's money everywhere in my accounts. She's like, because we have systematically set up her savings accounts, her bills account, which does nothing but pay bills. And then she has a couple spending accounts for her and her husband and stuff. And she's like, I've never, and her husband is a doctor. They make really good money, but they were also spending as much money as they were making, sometimes even more, every month. But just by us organizing it, just by us making it automatic, like Shana said, and keeping your hands out of it. And you are not doing any transfers. You are not handling any of it. Once you set it up automatically, and it's amazing how much it's transformed her family. And now her kids are on board. They understand the system. They understand what's going on. They're able to just spend freely, which they never thought that they'd be able to do.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So tell us, where can we get in touch with your systems?
So you can go to budgetbesties.com/budget. That's our system that we teach you. But really, what we sought out to do is figure out what do women do with their money? How can we make this as simple and literally automatic as possible so that you can, we all have way better things to do with our lives than stress about money or to spend. Like we have so many clients that are like, well, I used to spend Saturday mornings all morning trying to figure out what was going on in my bank account. So like to save you time, if you take the time right now, invest it, you won't have to do this like scrolling through 30,000 transactions in the one account to see if you have enough money to get your nails done. Like, girl, you don't have time.
Or hope and pray that the debit card works when you go buy groceries, right? Like we're trying to eliminate all of that stress.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. So, and also we have a podcast, Financial Coaching for Women. We'd love to have people come listen and actually get the details on how we do and how we teach you to do it so that, We did come from Dave. We love Dave, love him, but we're on a mission. We really want to take the shame out of it. We want to make this budget. We talk about being bougie on a budget.
Yeah.
We want to make it fun, lighthearted, not this B word that people dread.
Not restrictive.
Yeah. And like you said, like we talked about, we are called to be good stewards of our money, right? So that it is something that is sort of a responsibility to manage the blessings that God's given us, but also it can be fun. Math doesn't have to be the enemy, guys. Yeah. And if you get the system in place, we love to say you can be your own bank. You can be proud of your money situation. You can heal. You can have this wonderful relationship with your spouse and not have money trigger these awkward moments
and talk about money.
Yeah. And you can be setting up the next generation. It will take a little investment right now, but it's going to pay off literally in time and money in the future.
Yeah, it's so worth it. And, we were talking about setting up the system and then automating it and then allowing you to, like, yourself to be the CFO of your finances, being bougie on a budget, putting what's important to you and your family in your budget. So that way you can feel good knowing that you've budgeted for the stuff that you want, right? Again, like Shana said, we love Dave, but what we realize is he doesn't actually have a budget system. Like, he just kind of shows you the steps on how to do it. And his ways, his methods are really cookie cutter. And we really say that, listen, every single one of our clients' budgets, not one of them is cookie cutter. They're all very specific on their timeline, on their lifestyle, on what they have going on, what's important to them. And we think that that's how it should be, because every person's budget is different and unique on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. We love being practical and tactical here. So that was so good and we also like to talk about simple solutions to manage your anxiety and stress. So as you guys have listened to this episode, maybe it's a very simple solution. Go listen to their podcast, Financial Coaching for Women. Maybe your simple wellness solution for your financial scenario is to go click on their website. Link will be in the show notes, and go check out their system and how you can implement it. Maybe it's just opening a separate checking account. Maybe you heard that and you're going to take that nugget and actually do it. What I want you to do is do something. If you're not living as you intend to when it comes to your financial wellness, if you don't have abundance and peace there, then take action.
Yeah, love that.
Ladies, it has been such a pleasure. I loved getting to know you and chatting with you. I could talk to you for a while, but we got to go. So again, your links will be in the show notes. Anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
No, we're grateful that we're here, that you had us on, that we get to have these conversations with like-minded people. And I think encourage hopefully people in their earbuds, with what you've said, what we've said, because we're not alone, and it's so
we're
nice.
all in this together.
Yeah, we are in this together, and so hopefully that helped. Hopefully we helped.
It was amazing.
Yes.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at @TheShanWright so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.